I've said this before and I'll say it again. One of the oldest tenets of journalism is this: don't become the story yourself. But these are strange times. Rules are changing. A virus has stopped the world. An American president hid in a bunker from his own people. A propaganda megaphone is teaching journalism to us, and we are our own cover story. I shall explain. You see, we've been covering, or should I say uncovering, the truth about the Wuhan virus. A lot of you watch us, and thank you for that. You write to us, not just from India, but from all parts of the world. Many of you share information that we can use, and thanks again for that. Some of you also preach us. Well, we take all feedback seriously, but some of it is incredible, like what we got from the Global Times last night. You have to see it to believe it. The Global Times is telling us, WION, to think independently. They are addressing all Indian media, but they are specifically naming WION, singling us out. Here's a write-up that the Global Times carried yesterday. The headline reads, and I quote, "Indian media should shake off West's influence." They skipped an article, the West's influence, if we may. Now, when a state-owned company gives you sermons on being independent, you've got to take it seriously. So we went through what they had to say. Allow me to quote. One column in WION, published on May 19th, calls on India to back Taiwan's participation in the World Health Assembly, the WHO, in line with the number of countries led by the US, regardless of the internationally recognized One China principle. An internationally recognized principle since when? Last we checked, Canada, Japan, France, Germany, the UK, New Zealand, Australia, all of these countries did not endorse the so-called One China principle. Countries as far as Swaziland and Nicaragua expressed support for Taiwan's independence and inclusion. Clearly, the Global Times is not tracking the news, so we suggest they watch WION more closely to stay updated. Meanwhile, in the write-up, 3 paragraphs down, the Global Times was talking about Indian observers. It said some Indian observers have gone as far as to blame China for the outbreak, which is right. What would they rather have us do? Blame destiny? Not say that the virus originated in Wuhan? Not talk about how Beijing silenced whistleblowers? Not tell the world about the collusion with the WHO? And not mention how China covered up the outbreak? Just who is to blame for the virus from China? This, the Global Times did not answer. Instead, it said that the overemphasis, listen to this, the overemphasis on or even resentment towards China reflects the anxiety of Indians. Here's the thing. It is China that is a subject of global outrage. It is China that the world wants investigated. It is China they blame for the virus. If any party is anxious or should be anxious here, it's the Chinese. And lastly, the Global Times says that the Indian media should think independently and work on more balanced coverage on China. Such wise words from a newspaper that routinely issues open threats on behalf of the Chinese regime. Sample this. This is from the 13th of May. The Global Times did a story on the Chinese Army's upcoming drills in August. It said, and I quote, "Military exercises can turn into action any time." They quoted an expert. Such bluster is regular fare in this newspaper. So much for balanced coverage. The same Global Times justifies China's expansionism. In the South China Sea, they say Beijing's actions are for better management of the region. Their words. I'm sure that's independent thinking. The same Global Times labels countries as paper cats. This is from 2016. The Global Times said, "Paper cat Australia will learn its lessons." Do you see the resentment? And the cherry on the Global Times cake, its editor, Mr. Hu Xijin, once a protester at the Tiananmen Square, now China's propaganda megaphone. In 1989, he left the protests before the crackdown began. He sure has come a long way. He is the man who calls Australia chewing gum stuck on China's shoe. The politeness is legendary. We've read their advice, thanks but no thanks. We read Global Times and we often wonder, how does it feel to collect propaganda frisbees thrown at you? To not be able to think and speak independently, to overemphasize every little perceived success of China and to justify their crimes. We can sense the anxiety from miles away.